In the Wild West days of early YouTube, one user sparked controversy, attracted a questionable following, incited an online war, and then disappeared from the internet. It all started with one viral video called Obedece a la Morsa, or Obey the Walrus. This strange video's content perplexed viewers, but what was happening behind the scenes was an even wilder story. In this deep dive examination, we'll be looking at the drama surrounding this infamous upload, the people involved, and try to dig deeper into finding out what happened to the person responsible for all of this. This is Odstrosity. Let's reset what's expected. The overall nature of the Obey the Walrus video is puzzling, being an eclectic mix of media. It begins with the polygonal face of Andross, the primary antagonist from the 1993 Super Nintendo game Star Fox. He immediately begins to sing the nursery rhyme Itsy Bitsy Spider. Most of what I'll be discussing here takes place within the Hispanic YouTube community, so it's not unusual that Andross begins reciting the song in Spanish, though the song choice is a tad unbefitting. The audio originated from a children's Barney album, not quite what one would expect from an evil mad scientist. The video then abruptly cuts to a trippy kaleidoscope-like sequence that lasts only a few seconds. Afterwards, we see clips of actress Sandie Crisp performing with unsettling music overdubbed in the background. The video concludes by heart-wiping to a photo of a walrus. Most of this video's fame is due to Sandie's unusual physical appearance, which surprised many viewers back in the day. Her body had been affected by several factors, such as being born 2.5 months premature and being stricken with polio. She was the victim of medical malpractice, including having a solid steel surgical implant called a Harrington rod clamped onto her spine in a botched operation. It was meant to be removed when she turned 16, but was left neglected, permanently affecting her body. These hurdles didn't deter her from following her dreams though, as she was often described as having boundless self-confidence and persistent determination. She saw herself as mainstream and as being a goddess and a star, photographer Rick Castro elaborated, and that's how she lived her life and approached the world. Sandie pursued a career on the screen, and instead of giving up after having trouble landing on the red carpet, she readjusted her aim, stating, "If Hollywood won't take me, I'll deal with the underground." She started going by the glamorous stage name Bunny Victoria Venice, but soon became recognized as the Goddess Bunny, a name that director John Esnile started calling her. It stuck, perhaps because it suited her larger-than-life personality. She would go on to appear in films, documentaries, and music videos, including ones with Marilyn Manson and also Dr. Dre. Notably, Sandie starred in the 1994 documentary that shared her stage name, The Goddess Bunny. The film explores the exciting Los Angeles avant-garde and LGBT nightclub scene, along with some curious sights from around the area. The documentary became popular in several niche circles, traveling through the underground video circuit and the gay nightclub scene as well. As an interesting yet unfortunate side note, the film was directed and edited by Nick Bugis, an artist who's made many derogatory illustrations, including one of the web's most infamous drawings of an offensive stereotypical Jewish man. One familiar segment of the Goddess Bunny documentary had been filmed in the mid-1980s, at a time when Sandie could still briefly walk unassisted. Stepping into a pair of glossy patent leather shoes, she twirled a parasol and performed a tap dancing bit while her friend Keith Holland filmed. Depending who you asked, this happened in either photographer Kenny Camp's backyard or Keith Holland's backyard. John Esnile and Sandie each recall the scene differently. This routine highlighted just one of Sandie's numerous artistic passions. She loved to dance, sing, act, and tell stories, and her imagination indeed led to a lot of outlandish tall tales. Rick Castro recalls, "The goddess bunny randomly stated she was once actress Carol Burnett's double and worked as her stand-in. I replied, 'Isn't that Vicki Lawrence?' She ignored my question. She bragged about celebrities having crushes on her, hung fake college degrees on her wall, but many found her larger-than-life personality to be part of her charm. There was never a dull moment with the goddess bunny." The idea for the tap dancing video was concocted by Glenn Meadmore, a performance artist who was at one point Sandie's roommate. It would end up in the Goddess Bunny documentary, and he also incorporated these clips into his show, projecting the video behind him as he performed. Over a decade later, though, it started to appear online in the mid-2000s on sites like YouTube and eBaum's World. Glenn Meadmore observed that, all of a sudden, somebody grabbed that video and put it on YouTube. I have no idea who did that. One early example of this was the YouTube video Deranged, Mentally Disturbing 4. Uploaded July 2006 by user Contron, nearly a minute of the video shows Sandie, spliced between other footage. These clips would soon find much wider exposure in a different video, though. On October 4th, 2007, a new YouTube user named ObeyDaWalrus started a channel and published a video the next day titled Obedece a la Morsa, or Obey the Walrus. This was the original version of the often re-uploaded video, and it quickly caught the attention of the web's vast audience. The 1-minute 20-second piece is dominated by Sandie. Only about 12 seconds of it doesn't include her. To her misfortune, though, the whole thing is presented as a creepy, cursed experience with distorted music and uneasy editing. It became tangled with internet urban legends, warning that bad things happened to those who watched. Whether it was shared directly between friends or the subject of YouTube reaction videos, its popularity took off, hitting 5 million views in its first year. It was re-uploaded to other channels as well, and had millions of additional views across the site. During that initial year, ObeyDaWalrus continued uploading more of his weird videos to the channel, often with recurring themes. Rumors were claiming that these videos were subliminal propaganda for a mysterious cult called La Morsa, and that ObeyDaWalrus saw himself as a god, making videos to recruit disciples. Many took an interest in ObeyDaWalrus, and soon these curious people began to congregate with him in an online forum that was started in March 2008. The forum was the ideal environment to discuss ObeyDaWalrus's uploads, each video having its own thread on the site's front page. People would also joke around and talk about ordinary subjects, like in this topic where members planned to play the Nintendo Wii game Super Smash Bros. Brawl together online. ObeyDaWalrus states, "The game is a delicacy for the gods," to which someone replies, "You surprise me, Obey. You're already becoming an otaku and a nerd." This was definitely the tamer side of the site, though. Racist and homophobic comments and jokes plagued the forum. The site was a charged atmosphere that encouraged extreme behavior, becoming a platform for sharing shocking and disturbing content. Whether it be gore or unusual fetishes, this attracted an audience with an insatiable appetite. It's debatable how many of the forum's regulars were just enthusiastic, edgy personalities messing around versus people who were actually invested in these types of subjects. But regardless, many became devout followers to ObeyDaWalrus and his exciting new community. He was typically critical of others and would only associate with a select few, stating, "I usually connect on La Morsa's forum on weekends, but to talk with me they have to prove they are worthy of it." But regardless, he'd still engage with his active community. Some parts of the forum were divided into sections by one's level of faithfulness. The Mass was a public area. Faithful was a section for believers and required registration, and Walrus Crew was an exclusive section only for those closest to ObeyDaWalrus. He had solidified his position as the leader of this group, with avid followers happy to obey. One person in particular wanted more though, and was determined to earn a seat next to the throne. A YouTube user named Conquasabit appeared convinced of ObeyDaWalrus's words and desperately desired to be his closest accomplice. In December 2007, he started messaging ObeyDaWalrus, expressing his eagerness to serve at his side. ObeyDaWalrus was certainly intrigued by this, but demanded that he prove his loyalty and worth. He insisted that he had to do anything that was asked of him, including making tribute videos. Conquasabit complied, creating and publishing 3 videos in his master's honor, using clips from the Goddess Bunny to mimic ObeyDaWalrus's style in a display of flattery. Conquasabit's effort paid off, and ObeyDaWalrus responded on January 23, 2008 with, "You are noble and have shown it with your glorious videos. I name you Prince of Terror." The scene started to hear rumblings of a Prince of Terror, but ObeyDaWalrus was still being very private about it. Perhaps it was his elitist attitude, or maybe he was being cautious about letting anyone get too close to him. 2 months later, on March 30th, a final initiation challenge was issued. ObeyDaWalrus explained in a DM, "You have passed the first test. You have been strong, and you deserve to own a big part of my throne. But first of all, this is what you have to do. To prove your eternal loyalty, you have to find a white bunny and take a picture of him while being naked, and you will have to write, 'I did this for the walrus,' on your chest." Despite whatever hoops Conquasabit had to jump through, he managed to prove his worth and eventually achieved his desired status. He would sit at the right hand of ObeyDaWalrus. Outsiders had been observing this group and saw them as a cult worshipping a delusional fraud. Feeling compelled to respond, YouTube user MusicIsMyFaith made a trilogy of videos titled, "I Will Not Obey," denouncing the Morsa and offering interpretations of what the cryptic videos could mean. This retaliation inspired others to react as well, and soon other users like 77 Tortellini and Cafsamechsamech each made their own anti-Morsa series. They would meticulously examine videos, trying to decipher subliminal messages and pick apart every detail. 77 Tortellini hypothesized that ObeyDaWalrus believed he was a god that simultaneously took 3 forms, like the Holy Trinity in Christianity. Obedece a la Morsa continued to stump people though, as no one could seem to uncover any meaning. YouTube had become a battlefield between those who obeyed and those who rebelled, with some users verbally attacking opposing sides through nasty rants. ObeyDaWalrus had always received a lot of hate, but now Conquasabit naturally became a major target as well due to his newfound prominence. In one of his anti-Walrus videos, 77 Tortellini snarls, "I still think that Conquasabit is a batrachian with serious and great mental problems that needs a lot of help and advice from a good psychiatrist." He berates ObeyDaWalrus at length, saying things like, "You don't really know how sad your life is. Someone like you is not worthy of love. I feel ashamed that someone like you belongs to the same species as me." MusicIsMyFaith explains that many of us consider ObeyDaWalrus to be a sick person, but he could simply be a withdrawn person who likes to be taken into account and has a passion to express what he feels in his works and give him that gloomy and strange touch that draws our attention so much. MusicIsMyFaith also believed that ObeyDaWalrus more or less copies the style of Aphex Twin, which I found to be an interesting opinion. Trying to crack the codes behind these subliminal messages and watching both sides clash kept viewers enthralled. It was like a combination of a forensics crime show, a courtroom drama, and an epic war fantasy. Just as these sorts of stories are filled with twists and turns, so too was this one. A video was about to be published that would leave the entire community shook, and nothing would be the same. As part of Cafsamechsamech's anti-Morsa series on his YouTube channel, he posted a video that leaked shocking private messages between Conquasabit and MusicIsMyFaith, two major players on opposite sides of the battlefield. These DMs seem to be lost now, but the key takeaway is that the supposedly loyal and devout Prince of Terror had betrayed his lord by divulging private information about him. Chaos broke out in the community. Everyone was looking for an explanation. Why would ObeyDaWalrus's right hand do this to him? Conquasabit responded in April 2008 with a video titled The Supposed Truth of ObeyDaWalrus, where he came clean and unveiled what his plan had been all along. He was never loyal to Morsa. He was only trying to gain ObeyDaWalrus's trust to become his closest confidant, aiming to learn more about him. He was hoping to learn private information which he would then disclose to the public, exposing ObeyDaWalrus's secrets and motives. Conquasabit made the mistake of trusting MusicIsMyFaith though, and his plan had been spoiled before it could fully develop. When this happened, ObeyDaWalrus discovered my true intentions. Our close relationship broke forever, Conquasabit later lamented. If that information had not come to light, I may have had more time to gather much more information about ObeyDaWalrus from him. Needless to say, ObeyDaWalrus was furious and immediately severed ties with Conquasabit. ObeyDaWalrus then claimed that the whole Prince of Terror label had always been a ruse, trying to defame him. Forum users accused Conquasabit of fabricating this whole thing, including the DM screenshots. In a topic from April 17, 2008, titled Conquasabit Lies, moderator Axelexa writes, "Well, we all know that throughout this character's career, what he has said has been pure lies. Worst of all, many believe this video, and the only supposed proof is the image of the messages that Obey sent to Conquasabit." In Conquasabit's next video, The Army of the Walrus vs. Conquasabit Part 1, he argues against these allegations, mentioning that it goes without saying that the cynic ObeyDaWalrus will deny this message, as he did with the Prince of Terror. In Part 2, Conquasabit announced, "I will reveal absolutely everything in my next investigation," and then teased, "ObeyDaWalrus does not believe that he is a god. He believes that someone else is God." This piqued the interest of many viewers. ObeyDaWalrus had been the lofty elite leader. Who could be above him? People were already highly invested in this ongoing drama, so naturally they were very eager to hear what Conquasabit had to say next. They'd have to patiently wait while he assembled the last pieces of his examination though. This was all too much for ObeyDaWalrus. In a burst of frustration, he wiped the forum clean and deleted most of the threads in the forum, announcing, "As you will see, the forum is no longer the same as before. Forum topics have disappeared due to demonic forces, as apparently a new age of evil is beginning. What has been done to the forum is just the start, so for now please keep starting more threads to confront these demons and tell them, we are not afraid." On May 22, 2008, a forum user started a topic asking if others felt like the forum would ever be the same. Replies were dire, saying that the community seemed to be slowly dying. The walls of his kingdom were starting to crumble. At long last, Conquasabit finally returned on November 7, 2008, and uploaded the findings from his final investigation. In Part 1 of his two-part exposé, Conquasabit explained what had been taking so long. He had been meticulously collecting the opinions of 9 psychologists and psychiatrists to determine what was going on inside ObeyDaWalrus's head. Conquasabit himself claimed to be an 18-year-old studying at St. Ignatius of Loyola University as well, which he boasts is the best university in Peru, helping him to network with experts in the field. One aspect that they examined were some of the drawings ObeyDaWalrus had posted on MySpace and the forum. Many of these works featured one of his favorite recurring motifs, rabbits. This could be why the goddess Bunny was included in the first place, or perhaps she was the initial springboard for this fixation. On the forum, I found a comment where he says he has a fetish for obese rodents, in reference to photos of a rat and a rabbit. This could be dark humor, but Conquasabit personally believed that ObeyDaWalrus was mentally unwell and needed help, and after their observations, these professionals agreed with his conclusion. We should keep in mind that this was all just Conquasabit's word, so there's no telling if any experts were ever really consulted. And on top of that, some have questioned whether these drawings were actually done by ObeyDaWalrus at all. It ultimately wouldn't matter, because Conquasabit would soon deliver the final blow regardless. In the second part of his final investigation, Conquasabit points out that many people had painstakingly analyzed each of ObeyDaWalrus's videos to uncover what they mean. As weird as his uploads were, they generally seemed to have some hidden message, but one video had left internet sleuths stumped. Obedece a la Morsa, the video that started it all. Conquasabit insisted he knew the video's true purpose, saying that it had been right under their noses this whole time. To reiterate, outsiders had long assumed that ObeyDaWalrus saw himself as a god, like with 77 Tortellini's Holy Trinity hypothesis. Conquasabit knew the truth though, and he revealed that ObeyDaWalrus didn't think he himself was a god, but actually believed in a deity called the Walrus. ObeyDaWalrus was actually serving as a herald, beckoning others to obey the walrus, as his username had been suggesting all along. With this in mind, Conquasabit explained that people had been looking in the wrong place for Obedece a la Morsa's message. It wasn't in the video's pictures or audio, but its title. Obedece a la Morsa, or Obey the Walrus, was the message itself. The enticing visuals were simply a means to attract as many curious viewers as possible, widening the reach of the message. Without a doubt, it succeeded in that regard by being viewed millions of times. On the forum, ObeyDaWalrus had actually just given a detailed backstory of this god, describing that demonic forces existed before time itself, when the universe was there but not the understanding of its existence. A mystical force struck the ground, and everything that it touched from that day on was known as life. However, the demonic forces would not allow this, so they decided to fight for what was once theirs. This war between these two forces has lasted millions of millennia, until something more recently arrived that we dubbed the Walrus. The Walrus is the organization of the 365 lights and shadows, and is in charge of maintaining peace between the two forces. Until 4 millennia ago, everything was going well, but then the demonic forces planned to dominate both the mystical force and the Walrus. To overcome the demonic forces, the mystical force decided to give all of its quote-unquote spiritual juice to the Walrus, combining their strength and leaving only two powers, the Walrus and the demonic forces. The demonic forces have sworn never to stop until they end our world as we know it, but luckily we have the Walrus that will always protect us from the evil spirits and demons that roam around us. ObeyDaWalrus would occasionally relay the ways of the Walrus, like on April 16, 2008, when he posted on the forum, "Due to the strong crisis that this form is suffering in these moments of war, I have decided to strengthen my connections with the Walrus, and she gave me her strongest defense tool, the Spectral Squire." He then presented this pixel art gif of a cat loaf of bread, instructing, "To put this living artifact into operation, you must put it in your forum signature and or your cell phone as a screensaver. In this way, you will always be protected from demonic forces." This sort of thing just seems so silly, but Conquasabit didn't see it that way. After his personal relationship with him and collecting feedback from the mental health specialists, he didn't believe that ObeyDaWalrus was simply crafting a complex fictitious lore. He felt that ObeyDaWalrus truly believed these delusions. Conquasabit urged him to seek professional help and rethink his life. This video included a brief look at a tombstone that read, "ObeyDaWalrus," declaring that his reign was coming to an end. After months of work, Conquasabit had finally presented his findings and made his case, and now it was time to finish things once and for all. At the end of his final investigation Part 2 video, Conquasabit doxed ObeyDaWalrus. He said he didn't think it was necessary, but due to overwhelming public demand, he went ahead with it. We finally got our first look at the man behind the curtain. He showed a photo of ObeyDaWalrus's true face and disclosed his name, hometown, and even the college he was attending. His name was Jair, and he lived in Mexico, which was consistent with what ObeyDaWalrus had already publicly stated before. Conquasabit revealed that ObeyDaWalrus had had an alt account on YouTube called BoltessionSensoal. While the profile picture gives us a glimpse at Jair's face, one of the uploads called Intense Man shows an even more complete view. At long last, we could put a face to the infamy. Now that Conquasabit had finished what he had set out to do, he followed up with his grand finale. His final video, The End of ObeyDaWalrus, was a celebration announcing the defeat of Morsa, revisiting the tombstone reading ObeyDaWalrus. After the grave fades into view, we hear the itsy bitsy spider play for a moment, reminding us where this all started, only to have it halt as the screen abruptly goes black. The whole video feels reminiscent to his early tribute videos, a fitting bookend for a saga that began in this style as well. The tone, however, was no longer just creepy and mysterious, but now ceremonious and liberating. This was a monumental victory for those who rebelled. The video ends just as Obedece a la Morsa had, by heart wiping to a photo of a walrus. This time, however, we hear invigorating applause. One can only imagine the variety of emotions that ObeyDaWalrus, or Jair, was feeling. Within days, on November 9th, 2008, he deleted his YouTube account and socials. This era of puzzles, deciphering, and feuding had ultimately come to a close. It was over. Though ObeyDaWalrus had been unmasked, a peculiar question was left unanswered. Who was Conquasabit? He deleted his channel following these events as well, and a few people started to wonder if the two were actually the same person. As 77 Tortellini described to ObeyDaWalrus, some even say that you and Conquasabit are the same person and that you invented all of this to attract even more attention. Perhaps this was all a masterfully coordinated act played out for a worldwide audience online. Even MusicIsMyFaith and Cafsamechsamech, who publicly denounced Morsa, were suspiciously both active users on the forum, so there was a lot of odd behavior going on in the scene. Most of the players in the story made their videos back in the day using text-to-voice software and hid their true identities behind avatars and usernames, so the possibility of having multiple online alter egos was very plausible, however complex. The sheer amount of time and energy it would take to juggle these online theatrics would be impressive though, to say the least. Another confusing situation was that someone called Cafsamechsamech appeared on the scene, which was just Conquasabit spelled backwards, so there was debate as to whether this was his alt account or someone else entirely. Cafsamechsamech had started a website about Morsa solely to capitalize on the internet's interest on the subject, hoping to generate ad revenue. This angered the Walrus crowd, further straining Conquasabit's attempt to mix in, innocent or not. So what happened to ObeyDaWalrus ever since he deleted his channel? Did he ever return to the internet? There's been several online identities that have been suspected to be ObeyDaWalrus's new account, so let's take a closer look. As Conquasabit revealed at the end of his investigation, ObeyDaWalrus supposedly had a second channel called BoltessionSensoal. People recall seeing some of these videos and have continued to look for this account, but just like ObeyDaWalrus and Conquasabit, this channel no longer exists. Maybe this username can lead us to more recent whereabouts though. There's a newer channel called BoltessionSensoal from August 2010, but there's no videos uploaded and not much of note there. I found a Facebook account called BoltessionSensoal and a matching deviant art called Boltession. They seem to enjoy drawing just as ObeyDaWalrus did. There's several subjects of interest throughout the pictures too, like a cartoon walrus, the word obey in the background here, and a screenshot of Andross from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. They even posted a few pictures from ObeyDaWalrus too. These seem like some pretty blatant clues, but maybe they were just interested in Obedece a la Morsa and liked to reference it, even in their username. There's nothing concrete here, but nothing that seems to rule them out as a suspect either. This channel shown here was started on July 11th, 2011. It's called JH, but was previously called Jair Covarrubias. Not only is the name Jair significant, but both of these usernames would align with an alias that ObeyDaWalrus was alleged to have, Jair Covarrubias Herrera. The account even sported a cartoon walrus profile picture previously. This channel used to have more videos, but as of now there's only 3 remaining for the public to see. Like ObeyDaWalrus, some of these uploads are artsy presentations with odd subjects, but the tone is more bizarre than creepy. Several users are convinced this is ObeyDaWalrus, referring to him as such in the comment sections of his videos. Here's a comparison of JH's profile picture to the face that Conquasabit uncovered. There also appears to be a corresponding SoundCloud account called ObeyDaWalrus. One track's cover art shows a person's face, head tilted back and eyes closed, with some people claiming that this is ObeyDaWalrus's face. YouTube user The Return of Uth said that it is, indeed, the true creator of ObeyDaWalrus. The photo is of Jair. The Return of Uth is an interesting source on this subject, as they've re-uploaded and preserved many videos from ObeyDaWalrus, Conquasabit, and others from those days, and I believe they were involved in the forum back then as well. Even if this is a legit photo though, it could be that JH is just sharing it and it's not themselves. Then again, how would they have gotten this photo of Jair then? Here's a comparison to the supposed pictures of ObeyDaWalrus from Conquasabit's investigation. It appears it could possibly be a match, but I'll leave that up to you. I noticed a user appear in the comment sections for both JH and Boltession, someone with Walrus in their username. It may not be surprising that someone going by the nom de plume Jessica Walrus has been speculated to be ObeyDaWalrus's new account. Who is she, and does this accusation go deeper than just her name? Jessica Cortez James, commonly called Jessica Walrus, is an artist with a prolific output online, releasing videos, illustrations, and music. She loves electronic music, such as breakcore, lowlycore, ambient, and video game soundtracks. She makes IDM and ambient techno tracks, with people comparing her music to artists like The Caretaker and Aphex Twin. She's actually a massive fan of the latter, as seen throughout her art and posts on social media. On one of her Bandcamps, she claims to be Aphex Twin's daughter, though this appears to be in jest. Jessica has many different project names and accounts for her numerous artistic concepts. On her SoundCloud account for her project Jennifer Wales, the description states, "She is everywhere," which seems very appropriate considering how abundant her work is. Some of her other musical projects include Ninetin, Toxic Girlfriend, and Sylar El Assassino 3, and she's behind the YouTube channels Jessica is Dead, which joined only 2 months after JH, and Denial Unraveling from September 2014. Denial Unraveling, which I'm assuming got its name from the song by The Caretaker, shared informative, fun videos about niche music topics and also shared some of Jessica's own tunes. These videos are hosted by Jessica Walrus as a cartoon avatar in a bouncy, entertaining way. Honestly, watching some of her videos and listening to some of her music was a pleasure. I immediately found her music and her style really interesting. Could she really be the same person that made Obedece a la Morsa? Reddit user Nightlight Fright said in a 2021 comment, "I asked on Jessica Walrus's YouTube if Jair was their real name, and they said yes," and also shared a link to one of Jessica's YouTube channels, saying, "This is Obey's new channel, I think. It's confirmed in my SoundCloud DMs that he is the real person who made the ObeyDaWalrus YouTube account ages ago." Obviously, these claims need to be taken with a grain of salt, as Nightlight Fright didn't provide any proof. I was going to try to message this Redditor to learn more, but they've deleted their account. It seems Jessica is aware of these sorts of accusations though, as one of her SoundCloud descriptions states, "By the way, I'm not ObeyDaWalrus." With these statements in mind, what evidence do we have that can lead us to believe that she is or is not the one behind that infamous video? In some of Jessica Walrus's videos, we see bunnies, a common motif of ObeyDaWalrus. We also see her saying to obey several times, like this description that commands, "Obey Jessica, obey her like a god." This song title, "Obey My Mind," and this one titled, "Obedece a Jessica Walrus." The Itsy Bitsy Spider song, like Andros sang in Obedece a la Morsa, appears in the background of one of Jessica's videos, and then in another one where she's singing the song herself. While these examples could possibly be coincidental, Jessica's videos also more blatantly show some of ObeyDaWalrus's drawings, and even the same walrus from the end of Obedece a la Morsa. Let's dig into the comment sections and descriptions for more details. When asked where Jessica got an audio sample for one of her songs, she replied, "I used a strange video from YouTube, Mentally Disturbing 2, showing that she was aware of Contron's work." As mentioned before, Obedece a la Morsa was similar in tone to the earlier upload, Deranged, Mentally Disturbing 4, which also featured Sandie Crisp. Funny enough, it also had Aphex Twin appear momentarily. When all of the evidence I've listed so far is piled up, it seems fairly incriminating, but it could easily be that she was just a fan of Obedece a la Morsa, or that era of YouTube in general. That wouldn't explain what one YouTube user was talking about when they asked Jessica, "Why are there two channels called ObeyDaWalrus that have your banner?" To which Jessica seemed confused. Maybe Jessica accidentally uploaded the wrong banner to some of her secret ObeyDaWalrus alt accounts. Who knows? There's 3 discrepancies between ObeyDaWalrus and Jessica that need to be addressed: their gender, location, and age. ObeyDaWalrus has always seemed to go by male pronouns, but Jessica is openly identified as a trans woman, so that could explain it. As for each of their geographic whereabouts, it's apparent that Jessica lists several locations across her accounts, and someone's mentioned that her location has changed before. Whether she's moving a lot or just listing locations randomly, it seems like they've both lived in Mexico, either now or at some point. Regarding their age, things get a little confusing, but I want to present everything that I've found. From what we're shown, Jessica has said that she was 13 in March 2010, though one of her SoundCloud accounts currently says that she's 23. According to his old YouTube profile, ObeyDaWalrus was 19 in October 2007, but someone on the forum in May 2008 says he's 17. This would now make Jessica 23 or 26, and ObeyDaWalrus 32 or 35 approximately. Obviously, these numbers don't match, but as is evident, I'm not sure how accurate this is anyways. It is odd seeing how close their timelines match up though. Jessica's mentioned an old, unspecified channel of hers, commenting, "I've been on the internet for a long time." In fact, in 2008, I had created my YouTube account, but I deleted it and with them all my videos. I never got them back. This story sounds a bit familiar, as she's even mentioned herself that ObeyDaWalrus closed his channel in 2008. While ObeyDaWalrus started his channel in late 2007, it's quite the coincidence that they both started and ended a channel right around the same time. Also, Jessica's first track was from 2010, and when someone asked her when ObeyDaWalrus started uploading music, she replied saying 2010 more or less. We don't have any photos that are confirmed to be Jessica, but I found these 7 pictures throughout her public accounts that could potentially be her. The question here, of course, is whether or not any of these seem to match any of the supposed photos of Jair. Comparing her to the photos that Conquasabit unveiled in his Final Investigation Part 2 video, she doesn't seem to match all that well. The picture from JH's cover art seems to be a somewhat better comparison, and for what it's worth, Jessica herself has also said that JH's photo is ObeyDaWalrus. Initially, I think it looks plausible, but if I line up these two, the insides of their ears don't quite seem to match. Most of these pictures are stretched or edited in some way, so it's an awkward comparison. Here's a look at her compared to JH's profile picture as well, which also isn't very compelling. There's a comment on Jessica's current Last.fm where she shares her old account, linking to one called Boltession. Also, the profile picture for one of Jessica's SoundCloud accounts, as well as a track's cover art, is a drawing from Boltession. As intertwined as this is, I personally don't feel like Jessica is behind the Boltession Facebook/DeviantArt accounts. Even though they're both illustrators inspired by manga or anime, their art just doesn't look like it's the same artist. It's still possible Jessica could be behind the old BoltessionSensoal channel that Conquasabit disclosed, but that would only be speculation. Several times Jessica has expressed trouble with her past. One of her posts from February 2022 reads, "I've been crying these days. Everything is so frustrating and I feel so alone. Although there are friends who treat me well, it's hard not to think about how much people hate me because of my past, and that frustrates me." In 2021, she wrote, "I will work on my mental and emotional stability. Always seek professional help. Goodbye and sorry for everything. Although I have tried to be a better person, the road is still long, but not impossible." Whatever past she may be referring to, let's hope for a brighter future. Even after all of these intersecting clues, we circle back to our recurring verdict of inconclusiveness. Everyone loves a definitive answer to a question or a mystery, but I don't feel that there's adequate evidence for me to actually accuse anyone of being ObeyDaWalrus. Any combination of these people could be him. Maybe one, maybe none, or for all we know, maybe even all of them, however unlikely that would be. I followed every lead that I could find, but without a smoking gun, it seems that this iconic internet mystery continues. While Obedece a la Morsa is undeniably a prominent work of internet history, it's upsetting that it largely owes its legendary status to the exploitation of Sandie Crisp. Her whole life she proved to be resilient, but the video generated so many hurtful words that no one's skin would be thick enough to ignore it. After hearing so many rude and nasty comments, she indeed expressed annoyance with it all. Confused and upset, Sandie said, "And that ObeyDaWalrus? Excuse me, I'm not a walrus, I'm a human being, and I would appreciate it if people would recognize that." An ever-growing number of people have been celebrating her accomplishments though, recognizing her as more than just the subject of a viral video, as seen in the countless posts and comments that followed her passing in January 2021. Rick Castro observed, "The shock value of what I was drawn to when I was younger with the goddess bunny, I assume is the same shock value young people appreciate now. It's kind of like an adrenaline rush, but there's more to it. Freelance writer Mitchell Sunderland wrote, "Today, many of the Goddess Bunny's performances would offend audiences. At a bar, she dressed as Hitler's wife, Eva Braun, alongside a gay man dressed as Hitler, and they performed a sketch. Sandie saw it like this: when you push boundaries, then people all of a sudden open their eyes and see what you're trying to do. Art is nuanced, so it's difficult to say what Obedece a la Morsa was trying to do. It's evident that Obedece a la Morsa struck a chord with people, for better or for worse. The buzz that it generated online also helped establish the ever-persistent creepy artsy video genre on YouTube. Notably, it helped inspire the artistic subgenre of videos called Finihario. Finihario videos are generally known for their deep web aesthetic and usually intend to confuse or creep out to viewers. As creepypasta.fandom.com sensationally explains, the limits of madness in these videos depend on the person, since not all of us are worth creating such videos. Of course, these videos are not recommended for sensitive people because their content can be quite traumatic. The site also warns that watching these types of videos repeatedly can cause mental disorders depending on the type you see. It is not a joke, but a security warning. Watch these videos at your own risk and responsibility, but I do not recommend watching them more than once in a row. Like with feature-length horror films, creators find a range of purpose for making Finihario. Some make them purely for shock value, while others have an underlying message. Many people who observed or participated in the Hispanic YouTube community and the text-to-voice scene years ago now have fond memories of the entertaining theatrical war between those who obeyed and those who rebelled. Beneath a video about ObeyDaWalrus, a comment from 2009 emotionally reads, "Obey, your time on YouTube will be immortal. You changed this place with your deeds. Maybe you are not with us anymore, but I and many others look forward to your return, even if it is impossible." Watching this video gives a lot of nostalgia, moments that will never come back. Even 10 years later, in 2019, another user reminisced, "Those were good times when I came home from school and watched this epic fight." Obedece a la Morsa remains a classic, albeit controversial video, and its story continues to spark feelings of anger, nostalgia, fear, and intrigue. And to think, it all started with a polygonal face singing a nursery rhyme. This has been Odstrosity. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, I love reading your comments and I always try to reply, so make sure to jot one down below. I'd like to acknowledge YouTube user The Return of Uth and Redditor u/Dreamer1, both of who have published works that were excellent pillars for researching this subject. Join me next time, and we'll once again reset what's expected.